What's up, everybody? It is Amrinder Singh. If you are first time on this podcast, let me tell you something. This podcast is all about colloquial Punjabi, where I teach how to understand a Punjabi native speaker and how to communicate with them. If you are struggling to understand Punjabi native people, it's not your fault. Actually, it is the fault the way you are learning. Probably you are learning wrong type of Punjabi, which is like a formal Punjabi or textbook type Punjabi. This is not how we talk. We talk differently. We talk in colloquial Punjabi, or you can say conversational Punjabi. There are a lot of differences between a textbook type Punjabi, or you could say formal Punjabi, versus the colloquial Punjabi, the way people talk. So, if you're ready to learn colloquial Punjabi, then let's kick this thing off. Today, we will talk about how to learn or how to improve any language you're learning. Basically, we're going to talk about Punjabi, but I think you can apply it on any language. So, we're going to break down it in three parts basically beginner, intermediate, and advanced level. All right. So, it depends what's your level and how to improve your language from it. All right. First of all, you would see there are a lot of misinformation on the internet when it comes to learn a language, right? Probably you would see a lot of videos when they say learn any specific language they are teaching, learn in 3 months or 6 months. This thing, I don't think this is gonna work because these most of the video are click video, right? It also depends what kind of language you're learning. Like if you're learning a language which is pretty similar to your native language, yeah, probably you can achieve intermediate level like in 6 months. But it also depends how similar that language is. Some languages are so similar, some are like not that similar, some is completely different. All right. If I give you an example, uh, the Spanish and Portuguese, people say it's pretty similar, right? I don't know how much similar they are because I don't know these languages, but people say similar. If you know one or another language, like if you know Spanish, it's easier for you to learn Portuguese. Yeah, so probably you can learn it in 6 months, stuff like that. Um, I don't know how similar they are. Like if we compare like a Punjabi and Hindi, I think they are also pretty similar. Yeah, if you know Punjabi, I think you can learn a Hindi in 6 months even earlier, right? If we compare Urdu and Hindi, they are almost same. Maybe some word difference, and they use different. Basically, they have different alphabets, and I don't find any difference honestly with Urdu and Hindi. The same language. I think if you know Hindi, you automatically know Urdu, right? But there are some like different words in Urdu, but everything I think is the same. So yeah, it depends how similar the language you're learning. Let's say if you English native speaker and you're learning Chinese, right, or Japanese, they are so different, right? Um, I think it's gonna take you maybe 2 or 3 years if you're learning these kind of languages. If you're learning Punjabi, it is still like different, but it's not that different. It's not like Japanese stuff like that because this is, I think, I saw a chart. I think a couple of months ago. This is also like something like the European Indo language, something like that. There was a couple of languages like all European languages like Italian, Spanish, Dutch, English, right, and even in North India like Hindi, Punjabi. They are almost in basically same families. The other languages are little different, like Chinese, Koreans, um, Japanese. So they are little different. So I think if you're learning Punjabi and your native language is English, it's not like a so much. It's not like a huge difference, but it's still different, right? So probably if you want to learn in Punjabi, it's gonna take you maybe more than a year or maybe 2 years. Also depends your level. Also depends like how much effort you put. So it depends on that, right? I think, yeah, every person, maybe if you are learning, just like if you're completely beginner, I think you need to like focus on more than a year. I think 2 years is better if you want to learn it like properly, right? Don't think you're going to learn in like a 6 months. You're going to not learn Punjabi in 6 months. But yeah, I think some there will be some people who can achieve intermediate level in Punjabi like a year, maybe year and a half, something like that. So that's what we're gonna talk about today. So first you need to know your level. Just think before you learn. Just think about your level. Like if you're basically know nothing about the language, or maybe you know a few things, few words and sentences. Basically, you're the beginner. Intermediate level, like there are also like a couple of, we can say, uh, sub levels: pre-intermediate, advanced intermediate level. But we're going to talk about intermediate level. Yeah, so if you can communicate with people on basic things, you can understand people when they're talking. But like your like area of the language is not that broad, and sometimes you struggle to explain things, like it could be a story, whatever, right? But like you can just have a communication with people normally on like everyday talks. Yeah, then you're intermediate level. Advanced level, yeah, mostly you can talk to people, you're comfortable with the normal language. Probably sometimes you don't understand slang, or maybe some um academic words, stuff like, but mostly you're pretty good in that language, so you're advanced level. So let's talk about, if you're a beginner, what you need to do. The first thing, if you're completely beginner, you basically know nothing. Just try to learn some words, all right? Some basically the verbs. Yeah, just pick up the random vocabulary, whatever you like to learn, right? Basically, think about what kind of verb you are going to use, or what kind of word you use in your native language in English. Just think about that. Verbs mostly you use. Pick up some those kind of verbs and just see the meaning in Punjabi, right? And some random words you mostly familiar with in English, whatever your native language is. Just pick up those words and just learn them, just memorize them. You don't need to learn like a lot of words. It could be 30, 40, whatever, right? Then you need to focus on simple sentences. Pretty simple, not like a long sentence. Pretty simple. A lot of people like get frustrated at the beginning when they try to make long sentences, right? Just keep it basic and simple. Another thing, it depends. If you want to learn the alphabets of the any language you're learning, or basically a Punjabi. So yeah, if you think you are visual, you need to see the language as written. Probably you need to learn those. Like if you don't want to learn, you are pretty like comfortable with like just listening audio or video, or probably you can write with the Roman letters, whatever. If you think you're comfortable with that one, yeah, you can also, probably you can learn a language without Punjabi alphabets. But like if you want to read, right, if you want to read Punjabi, or probably you're gonna improve your pronunciation, then probably you need to learn Punjabi alphabets. You can, I think you can improve your like you can improve your pronunciation even without learning the Punjabi alphabets. Some people, what they do, they try to pronounce Punjabi when it's written in like a Roman letters, basically the English letters. So that time it get confused, right? So yeah, if you wanna like improve your pronunciation or whatever, then don't focus on the written anything. If you don't wanna learn Punjabi alphabets, don't focus on the any kind of written basically who is written in the English letters. Just try to learn how people are speaking. Probably is better for you. Or if you want to learn through alphabets, that's also good. So now, okay, what kind of simple sentences you need to learn, right? Probably you can learn some basic sentences, greeting sentences, how to greet people, how to respond to them, stuff like that, right? So basically, when you're a beginner, if you start like choosing these words, or if you even start uh, listening something, you need to also listen some Punjabi. Even you're a beginner, you don't understand it. I think it's better if you start listening to a teacher who's basically teaching Punjabi, right? If you start listening to them, they speak slower, right? Probably you can get some simple sentences. So when you are gonna basically listen or use basically a sentence again and again, those sentences are gonna stuck in your head. Even you notice, like if you already learning Punjabi for a couple of months or weeks, there will be some like a words or sentences you are like a listening repeatedly, right? And those sentences are like you like just remember them, like a lot of sentences people know, like a ki hala, kidda, right? So tum ki karda, stuff like that, because these sentences they like listen again and again. That's why they remember those kind of sentences. And yeah, because these are the simple sentences, they just ask like what are you doing, like tum ki karda, how are you, kimya, ki hala, stuff like that, because they listen these sentences all the time. That's why even you can also notice in yourself what I notice in a lot of people. I think everybody who is learning Punjabi, they know this kind of sentences because that's what the first thing they learn. So yeah, what you need to do, you need a lot of repetition. When you are at the as a beginner, you probably can start writing if you want, or you just start like using them in speaking. Like if you know how to write Punjabi, then probably you can start with writing as well. Otherwise you can just start like a record yourself, whatever, or just try to like talk. I think there's some apps like a Hello Talk app, stuff like that. You can start talking basically through voice note. You can't like start talking with somebody on the phone because your level is so beginner, right? Probably you can start a Punjabi with writing, even you don't know Punjabi like alphabets. You can just write with Roman letters with the Punjabi people, because a lot of Punjabi people use just Roman letter for chatting, right? So even when I like send a message, a short message to my friends, or I see message when they wrote in Punjabi, mostly we use alphabets of the English, right? Roman letters. Yeah, I think it is because before, maybe the new generation probably who didn't know English, they use the Punjabi letters, because when the phone came, they don't have Punjabi language, right? When we were texting each other, so we were talking in Punjabi, basically chatting in Punjabi, but we have to use the Roman letters. We didn't have option to use Punjabi, so now it's become habit to just like doing a chat with people with Punjabi, but using the Roman letters. So yeah, you can start with chatting with people. That's how I start. I start with chatting, right? First step, you can start chatting, and yeah, and then maybe you can speak some like a simple sentence through the voice message, right? Another thing I think you can use Google Translate. Probably it's not like correct all the time, but it's a lot better. When I used it like 4 years ago, it was a lot worse, right? It was not that accurate in Punjabi. Now it's a lot accurate. I think 95% is accurate. Now, basically, if you're learning a Punjabi, how you can use a Google Translate? You can write a sentence and basically in English, they will translate it to you in Punjabi, right? So yeah, mostly it's gonna be correct. Sometimes it gives you a wrong answer, or mostly it's correct. But keep in mind, a Google Translate only tells you a formal version, right? The formal version of it. And another thing, if you are learning even a teacher, or maybe like a one-on-one, or maybe you're learning from a teacher on just YouTube, just keep in mind, probably you are only learning a formal, right? I'm not sure what kind of, you need to learn informal as well. If you listening a teacher, basically probably you're a beginner, right? A teacher who teaches in Punjabi, basically you are just learning, basically you're learning a Punjabi, basically as a just you just want to communicate with people, and you're a beginner, right? When you would listen that teacher because you want to improve your listening, you are listening teacher because those teachers they speak slower, right? And keep in mind probably they are speaking a little bit formal, right? So you need to also compare the formal language in into like colloquial way, right? Even the Google when it's gonna translate it, it's not like all the time how we speak, but it can give you a good idea of the Punjabi grammar, how Punjabi people talk, some vocabulary. Basically, if you wanna like you if you wanna use a sentence in a Punjabi, you just write in English. Basically, don't go like a so long sentences. Keep it simple. Try to write a simple sentence. It will translate it to in a Punjabi, right? Then what you can do, you can know like how it's uh written in Punjabi, all right? But the thing is, it writes with Gurmukhi letters, all right? Basically, I can say Punjabi letters. If you don't know Punjabi letters, and then probably it's not your cup of tea. And another thing, you need to listen something every day, maybe 20 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever. You need to listen that. So you need to follow these kind of steps every day. If you're not following, you won't like go further. All right. Let me remind you again what you need to do. Learn some simple words, maybe for a week, whatever. Then try to use them in simple sentences. All right. I don't know how are you gonna learn. Just learn from somewhere. Hire a teacher. Just learn without a teacher on YouTube. Whatever. You need to learn some simple sentence. Get a help from your friends. Get a help from your like any kind of app. Just use some sentences. Write them. Speak them. Whatever. Right. I don't care, but you just need to use some sentences at the beginning. All right. Third point, if you already like using some sentence, simple sentence, probably you are only writing, right? If you know you memorize that, then try to say those sentences just through voice message. Record yourself, or maybe just talk, send a voice message to your Punjabi friend or anybody, right? You're talking, or you can use face to face if you have a conversation with a Punjabi person. And probably you can use fourth point is you can use a Google Translate, and you need to listen every day. All right. So these are your point if you're a beginner. Now intermediate level. If you already achieved that kind of thing, now you know a couple of sentences, you can talk, have a conversation basically on the things you are most familiar with, right? You learn some sentences, and so you basically have some kind of conversation. Like if you just wanna, you basically you can tell people like, what are you doing at home, right? Where you going, and what kind of thing you like. You basically know a little Punjabi, right? So now you need to take this step further. You don't need to stay in that like in a box, basically the beginner box. You don't need to be use those comfortable sentences you learn all the time. You just need to break it out. All right. So what you can do is basically when you are a beginner, you are using basically those sentences, whatever those sentences are. Basically, you are using those sentences you most familiar. I mean, familiar means the thing that you use mostly, right? Like if I give you an example, let's say you work with Punjabi people, right? There are a couple of Punjabi people, they do as work together. And so probably you can try to learn those kind of sentences you mostly use with each other in English. You can focus on those sentences, all right? If you have like some family member, maybe from your last side, like probably you get married to a Punjabi person, right? You have some law family, and try to like know what kind of things you want to do, what kind of talks they want to do with you or you want to do with them, and try to learn those sentences. All right, that's your beginner stuff. Now you need to go a little further. You need to bring new topics, a little bit other topics. You need to basically expand your this sentence vocabulary. All right, sentence vocabulary or word vocabulary, whatever. You need to expand it. That I know it's gonna be a little uncomfortable at the beginning, because if you are not learning, if you're not uncomfortable with something, you're not gonna learn. You need to be uncomfortable, all right? So that's how you're gonna progress. Now, in this stage, when you're gonna break out the beginner, you need to use a lot of voice message. If you don't have somebody who can talk on a Punjabi, you need to use a lot of voice message with people. If you don't have people, just use with yourself, whatever, right? I think it's better if you find somebody. You can find somebody nowadays pretty easily on the internet. There are apps like a Hello Talk or Tandem, whatever. You can use those ones. But if you have some Punjabi friend, this is pretty good. I think this is the best thing. You can just talk to them in a face to face. Maybe if I know probably you're gonna make them bored, whatever. But you can just they are your friend, you can just like ask them to give like a 10 or 15 minutes. That's enough. Like if you talk 15 minutes, I think that's enough to talk when you're beginner. But you need to listen a lot than speaking, right? Maybe here before you are listening like a 20 minutes, 15 minutes, here you can listen more than 30 minutes. And you need to focus on here before at the beginning you are focusing on to learn uh basically you are trying to listen teachers the who speaks slower. Here you need to go a little further, like listen some podcast or a video when a solo person is speaking, right? Because I told many times, when only one person is speaking in a podcast or video, that person speaks a little bit clear, right? Or when there are two people are talking to each other or three people are talking to each other, they speak faster. And I know why they do. I also told this thing many, many times, because when one person speaks in front of camera, he knows it's basically the people who are gonna listen. They are passively, like you are not there. You just record a video, and other people are gonna listen. If you were not clear in the video, they could get confused. But when you're talking to your friends or any person together who is in front of you, you don't need to worry about it. People are just expressing themselves or communicate in that specific situations, and they don't care to be more clear. And if the other person who is listening to you or who is talking to you, if he or she don't understand you, they can always ask you, because this conversation is active and present, right? It's not passive. So that's the reason you need to focus on a single person who is speaking Punjabi. Listen those kind of videos, listen those kind of podcasts. Now, the third point, advanced level. Basically, when you now entering the advanced level, right? So now you are pretty good in like a talk to people, but it is still sometimes when you don't understand when Punjabi people are talking, but you can have a communication. Mostly you can most of the part you can understand them when they're just talking on normal things, right? And you can talk to them like a mostly everyday life, right? Even even you don't have like a clear pronunciation or whatever, but you can still communicate with those people. First, in the stage, you also need to focus on your improving your pronunciation. All right, focus on the pronunciation. Probably when you're a beginner, you don't need to worry about much pronunciation. But when you're gonna achieve intermediate level, right? You know you are a little bit comfortable with the language. You also need to focus on the improving your pronunciation, and also need to try to make a little bit longer sentences. All right, now you need to go longer. Yeah, now you need to do some things. Try to explain things, right? Before what we were doing, we were talking normally. Hey, what you doing? Something like, oh, yesterday I went to the store. I saw a person who was really nice. Something like that. It was normal. Like you use two, three sentences, right? This is kind of intermediate level. Now, if you have to tell a story, in a story, probably you have to speak more than a minute or 2 minutes. Now, there are a lot of sentences, right? Maybe 10 sentences, 50 sentences. Now, you need to do that. And probably if you don't go that long, you only speak like a 3 4 sentences, you don't need to go immediately like a 15 20 sentence, right? Or less, you just talk, and you when you're talking to Punjabi people, probably you speak 15 seconds, 10 seconds, all right? Now you need to little explain things. Probably if you just speak 15 seconds or 10 seconds, and then you struggle with Punjabi, try to explain things, just try to go a little bit further. Just try to do like a 20 second, 30 second. Then after that, you can go like a minute, right? Try to explain things. That's how you're gonna break out your intermediate level into advanced level. Now talk to people more frequently. If you are know Punjabi people or you live that, you try to talk to them more, right? If you not live around Punjabi people, just use these kind of apps. Talk to people through voice messages, send them longer voice message, or just talk through phone, right? You can also teach them English. They can teach you Punjabi. So you can find these kind of people on these kind of apps like a HelloTalk, stuff like that. So yeah, so now you can listen. When it comes to listening, you can listen like more podcasts when people, 2 3 people are talking, because you want to be at advanced level. Now you need to take a step further. Now you can listen when 2 3 people are talking together. Before you were only try to focus on the person when one person is speaking. Now you need to focus on level like a more advanced level Punjabi, right? So when you know now you will feel confident, right? Then you need to also focus on other. When it comes to listening, probably listen movies, because in the movies the people speaks faster with expressions. Sometimes they have to speak faster because of the situation. Sometimes they are in the threat, they have to be hurry, they speak so fast. So these kind of expression, these kind of situation, little hard to understand. So you need to also listen this kind of stuff, right? And you can do these kind of things if you're a beginner or you just enter to intermediate level, right? You can. It's for those people when they know they are just end of the part of the intermediate level, right? Because this is complicated things, and sometimes people get frustrated because they are just a beginner and they just step they're what they're listening or doing, they're doing advanced level. It's not possible, all right? if you are if you are playing a football, let's say you're playing a football, and you didn't play before, probably you played before a couple of days, and you're trying to be a Cristiano Ronaldo. This is not possible. Or you're just trying to be a normal professional footballer. It's not possible, right? So the same thing I learn language. It's not possible if you're trying to take a step. If you're a beginner and trying to be learn or trying to be an intermediate level or advanced level, it's not possible. You need to take it step by step. All right. And then let me remind you again. First, you need to eliminate those videos or ignore those kind of videos. If you see learn up Punjabi in 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, whatever, right? It's gonna take you more than a year, right? I'm being honest with you. Second thing you need to do is just think about your level, right? You are completely beginner, or you are just like an intermediate level. Basically, you just enter intermediate level, or you just advanced intermediate level stuff. Like you need to mention or just consider your, or just keep in mind your the Punjabi level, right? Then you can think, okay, I have this level, it's gonna take me that much. If you are already intermediate level, probably you can be into to in advanced level, or you can be fluent maybe in 6 to 1 year. If you're a beginner, it's gonna take you more than a year, probably 2 years, right? So basically, being a fluent doesn't mean you're advanced level. Being a fluent, you can listen. Even you are like a pre-intermediate level, you are not even completely intermediate level. You can be fluent in some specific area. if you're using some sentences again and again, you can be fluent in those ones. All right. So yeah, some people like if you see a kid over 5 years kid, he is fluent in his language, but in his like a specific limited vocabulary, he is fluent. He can't explain like complicated things. He can't tell you about like if you like a biology. He can tell you about fitness, right? Even if you were, he can understand everything in normal talk. If you're telling them like a deeper kind of a biology thing or physical, the hormones, everything is going over on his head, right? He can't understand. Even he can't speak that. So is it mean he's not fluent? No, he is fluent in his specific area. That's what you need to do. You need to be fluent as much as possible, just in a small circle. Don't try to be fluent in everything, right? It's the language is so broad. If you become a fluent in small circle, then you can expand little by little, right? That's how you need to tackle any language. And you feel more confident if you take this approach, right? Let's say you become really good in some sentences, right? What you do mostly, what you want to ask, basically if you're a beginner, you want to ask, hey, what you doing? I'm doing this. Let's go out. Let's have a fun. These kind of simple sentences, all right? If you become fluent in these sentences, you are not even intermediate level yet, but you become fluent in these sentences when you want to ask people, and it gives you confidence, right? When it gives you confidence, then you can expand little by little. That's what you need to do is. So if you think you are learning something new from this podcast, please support this podcast on Patreon or through PayPal. I would really appreciate it. Or if you wanna take private lessons from me, then you can contact me through Patreon or Telegram or through my email. All the links are in the description. At the end, if you are listening to this podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, then you can give it to 5 star. It would help this podcast to spread to the more people. I would really appreciate it as well. Another thing, if you are struggling with Punjabi pronouns, then check out my ebook about Punjabi pronouns. All the links are in the description. I hope you enjoyed the lesson and learned something new today. I'll be back with another lesson another day.